I had something I really wanted to talk today that was sports specific and business specific, so it's cool that we can segue into this.
Cool, hit me.
NIL, right? For those people who don't know, NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. And name, image, likeness is a big point of contention in college sports right now because what it will allow, what the rule change would allow, is that kids who are high school athletes, college athletes, would be able to make money using their name, image, and likeness.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means that right now, NCAA football from EA Sports can't exist any longer because you were using players without their names so that you could circumvent them making any money. Not cool. Now they're talking about bringing it back, and then the players would have the ability to make a royalty off of their name. Love that. If a game is making money and it is making something, I think it should be there. Mm-hmm. But also, if you have a kid who is the best player for Marist, right? Small school in the northeast of the United States, but Division I program, plays football, lacrosse, baseball, solid. If the local car dealer wanted to take the captain of the lacrosse team and wanted to pay them $500 to endorse them in an Instagram video, right now they can't do it.
Yep.
But if I'm a kid and I'm on an academic scholarship and somebody wants to have me show up at their bookstore and do a book signing, I'm allowed to. Mm-hmm. I can get paid for it. And I think that is a cool way and the right way to getting college athletes to get paid is not by having them get a salary for what they're doing, because if they're getting a $50,000 a year scholarship and food and everything else, that's already a pretty substantial financial investment in an individual player.
Yep.
But by allowing them to go and get endorsement deals, you allow the top cream of the crop players to make those decisions. And I also think that will allow better talent to move themselves into college and not have to go the route of going pro. Mm-hmm. And my perfect example is Andrew McCutcheon a number of years ago talked about the fact that he had an opportunity to go to the University of Florida and play. And he would have loved to have gone. But the scholarship, because of how baseball worked, was only for 70% for him.
Yeah, baseball's
so
tough.
He ended up being a first-round pick, and it's millions of dollars. He had to take it because financially where his family was, he couldn't afford even the 30% to go to college. If he was allowed to use his name, image, likeness, an Instagram account with 50,000 followers and all this stuff to bring in revenue, that guy might have been able to go to college, and he might have changed the course of baseball for the University of Florida. He might have changed the whole course of his own life. So many things can be different by giving people access to making money off of who they are, and I'm excited to see it, and I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about NIL? What do you think it's going to do to change NCAA baseball?
Well, I love it. I want that to happen for them, and I think it will give because I think what's kind of missing in college baseball in particular is the lack to some degree of like the players' personal brands.
Yes.
I think you see it a lot more in college football,
yes,
where kids care about that. They know it's important, especially if they go to the NFL. And I think if the players in college baseball were allowed to have endorsements, things like that, they would value that higher. They'd put some more effort into it, and then you'd have different companies being like, okay, let's work with you guys, make content, do things like that, and get more hype around the game because eventually it's going to make everybody more money.
And guys in football, they all prioritize it because even when they're a senior in high school, if they're one of the top 100 players and they're a senior in high school, they know in 3 to 4 years they're going to be a draft pick potentially by an NFL team.
Yep.
And they're instantaneously going to be making money and are going to have a name and recognition and ability.
And they want to be marketable.
In baseball, traditionally, kids don't care and guys don't care about their social medias until after they finally sign a big contract. Pete Alonso. Pete doesn't have a social right now. Pete, I think, deleted his social media for a hot minute to focus on baseball. Mm-hmm. So you get guys like that who get rid of social accounts because they're like, hey, it doesn't matter for me. How does it not matter for a guy like Pete Alonso? Like, it was important, and then he had a year that maybe wasn't what he wanted, and I'm deleting it. You wouldn't see that in football.
Nope.
Like, a guy would be OBJ, right? Odell, he's not gonna delete his social. That's why he's got an Adidas contract for shoes.
Yeah.
Was because he had 1 million followers. Baseball kids don't look at it the same, and I think if name, image, likeness shapes that way, you also will have the ability that those high-end players who are in college can also build a reputation because they can start to come on podcasts like this and they can get sponsorships by small companies that are making baseball stuff. They can sign a contract and get their own baseball bat if they want to, right? They can start to monetize those things and build a name by attaching to something, and that inherently is going to make baseball more fun. So I think
100%.
I think baseball is going to have the biggest impact by NIL because also it'll allow those younger players to make money off of themselves sooner and not be tied to what the current CBA is limiting them in terms of where they can make their money.
Yeah. There's so many guys I can think of too that would benefit from it that are like in big name schools. You know who they are, but like they don't really care about social to that much. You know, people know who they are, but you can look at, you know, top college recruits and compare them to pretty big name MLB guys, and they probably have more social than they do.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a million times. And I also think what you were talking about with the amount of time they have between college and going pro, and the fact that a lot of guys, you know, you get drafted, you go to the minors for a while, you don't care about it. You're in the smallest market possible, and who knows Iowa with meeting 40 people, nobody's going to see you.
And if you're a 17-year-old and you were the best player in the country and you get drafted and you don't make your debut till you're 23, and you spent 6 years in the minors developing, you're still relatively young by the time you pop up. But because you were out of sight, out of mind, people
you're just forgotten.
Brush you off.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that this would allow some more of that to take care of itself. And then interesting enough in baseball, and I don't know about it as much in some of the other sports, baseball has that young collection of guys like C1 Coop, right? And raised in baseball.
Yep.
Those kids have built themselves large relative social media followings to their contemporaries, and they've already done some stuff with brands and with other things that this rule is going to allow them to continue to shape for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think they're the first, you know, Instagram generation, TikTok social media player generation to really walk into this.
Yep.
You know, and they're known for being a personality in the game more than they're even just known for being great at the game. And I think that those kids are really who are going to maximize themselves because they're doing it, and they're going to lead a charge that the next generation, why am I not doing stuff and posting on social and building my brand now, right? I can make money tomorrow. So super excited. I think business and sports needs to allow itself more freedom. I think college, NCAA specifically, limits players' ability to do too much in order to keep money in the pockets of the NCAA. And I'm excited to separate each kid to go make their own way, if not the NCAA and college is paying them.
Yeah, and you know we were talking about it because March Madness is coming, and I saw a couple of tweets about it. And what's very interesting is like they're saying, look at some of these really small schools that make it to the Final Four, Elite Eight, things like that, and weren't able to monetize that, and they're and they might not ever get back. You know, and they went on this crazy journey. They're all over ESPN. They could have made a buttload of money.
A bunch of kids from Gonzaga, right? You right now are on a national stage all the time. Why couldn't I do a post-game live talk, right, with a company with their hat on? Right? Hey, and get interviewed by the owner of the company. Hey, how did it feel? Great. I loved having my ex-mouthpiece. It really helped me. That kid is now on a national stage. There's articles being written about them. You got kids from Gonzaga, like, you maybe never are going to get this again, but you could have found an ability to leverage yourself up. And maybe that becomes, now because you're a personality and you have that ability to do that, maybe you start a small podcast after you're done and you're interviewing people and you're making a living by it. But now instead, you have no ability to leverage these things until after you're done. And after you're done, nobody cares about you. So again, I'm all for guys being able to take advantage of their opportunities, just like a student on a full scholarship for their academics would be able to go out, write a book while they're a freshman in college if they really wanted to, could host their own podcast, could go on a show, could do whatever they want, and nobody bats an eye. But the reality is that kid on a full academic scholarship, as long as you keep your GPA, we don't care what you do. But a football kid, hey, on and off the field and in your room, we own you. That's unfair.
Yep.
That needs to change. Guys, let us know what you think about today's episode. We covered a lot. Again, remember, like and subscribe below. Follow us on all platforms, and we will see you next time here on the Grounds Crew Podcast.
See you guys.
Baseball lifestyle, that's my lifestyle.